he falls in love with this woman, but his downfall is that he doesn't see who she truly is.
Hmm.
And she gets miserable because she can never live up to who he sees her as, this like perfect angelic figure. um and he destroys himself because he eventually realizes that she's basically the fucking devil.
Yeah.
um and he just refused to see it. And the the important thing is not rushing to judgment when it comes to dating people. Like the people that are like, oh, I want to get married after like 3 dates. Like, how the
Hmm.
fuck if I was talking to someone recently about this, how like I read an article or something. I don't remember where I saw it, but basically, if you think about it in terms of like how much time you spend with somebody, right? In the modern dating world, if you work full time, you might see that person 1 day a week or on the weekends. All right. That is, that's not a lot of time. Even if you
Mm-mm.
see that person for 3 months, you're only you're only seeing them in person for 12 days, right? So how the fuck do you know that person? Like, so that's the thing. Like, it's setting realistic expectations for the person that you're seeing and yourself, um and not jumping to judgment about, this person is God incarnate, like
Hmm.
they're amazing.
Well,
um and in that way you become friends, and then you become best friends, and if you're lucky you become lovers for the rest of your life. But
well, I
yeah.
mean that's definitely powerful because like I didn't think about it like that. Like, yeah. Well, it's funny. I was like just like watching some of this podcast, and they were talking about how like your coworkers spend more time with you than
Right.
your significant other.
Right.
So, like, I mean, for one thing, like if you're in a relationship and and one of your significant other's coworkers is basically trying to holler at it, like that dude or girl basically gets their chance to shoot their shot, basically every single day. And any problems that your
Right.
significant other
Right.
has with you, it's
Dude,
basically
and
going to be going,
I've had
yeah,
girlfriends leave me for coworkers, man. Like,
yeah.
because that shit is true. Like,
Hmm.
it comes down to time, man. Like, if that guy is spending more time with her and getting to know her on a more intimate level than I am, then they have a deeper connection than I do.
Hmm.
That's just the fact. Like,
And that, and speaking of connections, right? Like, I kind of want to, for those that don't know, I forget if you put her name like specifically at that part, but your sister was the woman that was featured, for a good chunk of the
yeah.
video,
Hmm.
and she spoke very passionately about how, you have basically like restored her faith that there are good men out there,
Mm.
and I thought that was very powerful, right? If you're willing, I'd love you to speak a little bit about, what is your relationship with her sister and why was it so important to not only have her in the video and just, I guess, what was that, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
just,
So my sister and I are very much like the same. We share the same heart,
hmm
basically.
that's
Um,
awesome.
we both been through. We're both very emotional people, very like kind of hard on the sleeve. Jump first and ask questions later. Hope to God there's a
Hmm.
parachute. That line from Hitch where he's like, you. That's what love is. You jump and hope to God you can fly. It's so true because like
Hmm.
you don't know, but like I think my sister and I are both learning that if we do have that sense of we can jump, we have to pump the brakes a little bit and really think about what we're doing, because oftentimes we jump and there is no parachute because the other person ends up being, either a terrible person in their own way, terrible for us, or it's just not the right time, or something's not right, and we refuse to see it. And so we both have a tough time doing that, and we talk a lot about our relationships, and we text and stuff, and yeah, she's someone that I've always had been understood by and could understand, without really saying much. We can just kind of talk and understand what's going on and what we've been through.
And, another thing that your sister has talked about and you've been outspoken about on social media as well is, especially for, us as men in general, willing to be emotional, willing to be in touch with ourselves and honest with our feelings. We're going through a mental health crisis in the world right now. Suicide rates, depression rates, anxiety, they're skyrocketing. But even before that, there's always been such a stigma on mental health, but specifically when it comes to us as men and being able to, open up. Clearly we're seeing now how dangerous and how toxic that has been in relationships. If you loved, and I'd love you to elaborate, why is it so important now more than ever for us as men to be honest with ourselves and, as far as, opening up, being honest about our emotions and feelings, and really just trying to see what's being covered?
Yeah. I mean, it's about being real, right? if you're everyone's experiencing emotions, and if you're just like hiding that, it's going to come out in negative ways, right? And so we see these mass shootings where these troubled young men, for whatever reason, they don't know how to deal with life, and that's an extreme example, but that's the thing that happens, though. If you don't go to therapy, if you don't let it out in a healthy way, it's going to come out with violence. It's going to come out with abuse to yourself or to others, and it's going to come out one way or another. But it's just how you want to let it out that's healthy or not, and to talk about your feelings like we're doing now. Or I listened to the most recent podcast that Obama and Bruce Springsteen are doing, which is fantastic. It's called Born in the USA.
I didn't know Obama was doing a podcast.
It's unreal. It's unreal. It's called Born in the USA. And the most recent episode was talking about masculinity and fatherhood, and just talking about like how their fathers, at least Bruce Springsteen's, was very stoic and didn't really talk about his feelings a lot, and that led to Springsteen not knowing who he was until he was like in his 30s, because he was trying to emulate his father and try to hide his emotions, and then he realized, like, who the fuck am I? Like, if you're always wearing a mask and trying to hide your emotions, then you're not a fucking human being. And that's the thing. Like, a lot of these men are walking around with freaking chips on their shoulder, and I see them at the gym. They look at me like they want to fight me or something, and I like smile. I'm there smiling like a fucking idiot. But it's like
toxic masculinity.
Yeah, for sure,
man.
dude. But there's no reason for that, and I'm a big proponent of like I'll make my friend Tyler like fucking dinner, and the other day I made dinner and I packaged some up and dropped it off at his house, because like I think that's a beautiful thing. Like, if I can hang out with my friend and we can say I love you and talk about real shit, that's a healthy thing. That's a healthy relationship. You know, and I can talk about bullshit with him, and we can, you know, like chug beers and, you know, do whatever. But if you can also have those serious talks, it's it lets out some negativity. Um, and it's a way to, it's almost like therapy, by talking to other men and understanding, because, you know, you can talk to a woman all you want, but um, talking to another man is on an intimate level is um, way more cathartic, because they really understand what it's like to be a man. And you know, I just hearing someone like Obama or Springsteen open up and talk about their emotions makes me want to go out and be vulnerable, because these are two guys that are legends, and they're willing to open up. So if other men start doing that, then people around you will be like, other men around you will be healthier for it, because they'll realize, oh, like it's not weird to talk about your problems, because the fucking president of the United States and, you know, a rock star legend Bruce Springsteen can do it.
Mhm.
So why can't I? You know?
I like, you know, it's man, that's so powerful, right? Because I mean, I know you saw my look at me. I know you said you saw my documentary. I don't know which videos you saw because there's like four and there's like, but
Yeah.
anyways, you know, I am very big on therapy,
Hmm.
meditation, you know, 12-step programs, you know, spiritual or life coach, whatever you want to call it,
Hmm.
because I one of the analogies I like to use is hiding your feelings and your emotions and thoughts is like putting dirty laundry under your bed. You know, you can only do it for so long before
Right.
the bed starts to rise and the smell starts to stink in the whole room. And eventually you get so bad, you probably got to call an exterminator because you're going to get pigs and rats and shit
Right.
like that. But by then it's too
I don't
late.
know about pigs, man. If you have pigs in your room, that's a problem. You
So
got a
yeah,
whole new problem.
he might just burn the house down. Forget it. It's gonna tear that shit down and rebuild it, man. Bro, it's a fucking, that's not a house, it's a freaking farm. But you know, I think it's so important because, you know, for one thing, in my case, right? Like I part of the reason why I was able to start, you know, healing from my anxiety and my depression is because I met someone who was completely honest about their struggles with mental health and was judgment free about it. They allowed me
Right.
to feel like my struggle was human. Me
Hmm.
joining different 12-step programs where people were open and honest about this stuff, it allowed me to feel human because I realized, okay, it's not just me. I'm not crazy. I'm no different from feeling what I'm feeling. And at the same time, this is okay and there's a way to heal and get better.
Hmm.
And I started to get better by talking about it and learning things about myself, my past that I to this day am, you know, still uncovering and learning how this is affecting me today and learning how to, you know, overcome.
Hmm.
And, you know, just even in my personal life, like, you know, my father, for example, alpha male dog, you know, man's man, you know, never talk about your feelings, none of that. When I finally sat down and told him that I was struggling with, you know, suicidal thoughts and depression, our relationship changed. We became a lot closer because, you know,
Yeah.
he lives alone. He doesn't have any close friends or family members. So he started opening up to me more about his depression and how he was lonely. And because of that, you know, that's allowed me to be there for him more. I go over there weekly now when I help clean the house. I bring, you know, food to
Hmm.
surprise him and stuff like that. But our relationship is like that because we were able to be honest with each other. We would have been so much
Right.
more distant otherwise. And part of the reason I can say I'm here right now is because I have met people who allow me to realize it's okay to not be okay and it's okay to open up about your feelings. It's made me closer to the right
Right.
people. And I think, you know, if I think everybody could use that type of support. You do need people in your life, though. Fortunately, we don't always get it from our friends and our family members, but I try to encourage people. There are people out there. It might not
Right.
be from those you wanted, but it's so key because it can affect you in a relationship. It can, if you're an
Right.
abusive person, it comes from somewhere. But if you're not
Right.
able to be honest with yourself about it, you're going to keep hurting yourself and you're going to keep hurting people around you. So I'm very big on, ending that sort of stigma, not just on mental health in general, but of course, as far as, men opening up. I don't care how much weight you lift to the gym. You're probably just as anxious to find a girlfriend as myself, and you're probably just as insecure as yourself as me. But you need this thing to sort of give you some sort of validation as a human being. But you're not getting that by just trying to have something superficial that you want to hang over my head, because you're not happy
Right.
doing that. You don't even know me. You just feel like you got to be this certain way because that's how you were raised to be accepted. And you know what's fucked up, but you don't know enough about the process of getting into that to do it, because society hasn't raised us to think like that. I'm
Hmm.
seeing the change now. I see a lot more of the mental health conversations on TV commercial, on the radio, but I still think there's a long way to go.
Well,
Right?
that's one of the reasons why, like, I love that episode of Hot Ones with Terry Crews, because
Mm-hmm.
like he opens up, and this is a guy that played in the NFL, and
Yeah.
like
Scary
is this
Terry.
this like massive, like, juggernaut of a human being. And he, like, he gets really emotional during the interview, and he talks about, like, dude, it's so adorable when he talks about his son, and like how
Mm-hmm.
he loves spending time with his son, and like getting into the things that he's getting into, because he remembers when his dad was like, dismissive of his own passions, and he was like, I'm not going to be like that for my son. I'm going to get, so
Mm-hmm.
he like got into computer gaming, and they built a PC
That's
together, and like,
awesome.
like all this stuff, like. And I think there are role model men out there like Obama, Springsteen, Terry Crews.
Mm-hmm.
I can think of a handful uh, that we should look up to, and listen to, and be like, you know.
Yeah, like that, like it's funny, right? He is one of the most controversial human beings on the planet. Like my sister hates this man's guts. But my man Charlemagne the God, one of the reasons why I love him on the Breakfast Club is because he is so big on the mental health conversation. He
Yeah.
always talks about how important, it is to go to therapy, it is to open up, how
Hmm.
he has a life coach, he has a therapist. He's very open about, his meditation, just his whole he wrote a book about his anxiety and his depression, and he does a lot of advocate. He's a huge mental advocate. I love that, because when I see someone on that platform speaking on a stigma that has been so bad, especially in inner city communities, like where I grew up, people need that, right? Like
Hmm.
that's something that I wish would have been around 3 years ago. Now granted, I've seen it. Like I've seen Hall of Fame NFL players, just those names like a Brandon Marshall, or that dude who used to play for the Eagles. I used to love him. But basically, I mean, for example, I don't know if Dak Prescott talked about he was depressed last year when his brother died. Who else? Big Sean talked about his struggles with
Hmm.
suicide. I, obviously I'm sad that they're going through this, but at the same time, I'm happy that people with their platform can be honest about this stuff, because those are the
Hmm.
those are the type of things that inspire me to want to open up about it and put out a documentary, because I've seen, especially my jobs that I've had, when I started to really take this mental health thing seriously and be honest about it, that's when I started to see a lot of people opening up to me about it, and I was like, damn,
Hmm.
I got to make this a bigger conversation, because I know what that's like to be at that point where you don't want to be alive anymore. Meghan Markle talked about that in an interview with Oprah, which, by the way, part of the reason why I watched that is because I wanted to see how Oprah did her interview
Oh
to,
yeah.
take some notes to see how I would interview you.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I've had multiple friends tell me that they have been suicidal. And
Mm-hmm.
basically you could say I was like the first and last person they were going to go to before they were going to do the thing. So I know
Mm-hmm.
what that's like to be on both sides of that conversation. And if we don't have these conversations, then we get mass shootings, then we get the suicides, the abuse, or
Right.
just not even being able to get out of bed and go to work, right? You know,
Yeah.
it's just like
And it,
I the
it's
floor is yours.
important,
Mm-hmm.
the therapy thing is important because like, you know, when you start going to therapy, even if you don't talk about it, you might say like, "Oh, I'm going to therapy today." Someone else might hear that and
Mm-hmm.
be like, "Damn, I've been thinking." And if Rich is going, you know, or if Anthony's going, then I can go too. It's not weird.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the example of that is like in my family, my sister was like the first one to ever go, and I
That's
still haven't been.
awesome.
I'm still trying to find a therapist, but um, and because of that, it started a conversation within my family.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was kind of like a trendsetter, but we can all do that, and people will follow suit even if you don't know they are. They're watching,
Yeah.
and there are certain moments in my life where I never realized how much of an impact I had on somebody until they came out and said something, and I was like, really? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I had like an aspiring like photographer um post a status with a photo that he was really proud of, with one of his favorite photos that he's ever taken recently, and he tagged me in it and gave me a shout out and was like thanks brother, like you inspired me to go out and do this. And I was like, dude, I had no idea. Like I'm just out here doing my thing. I don't even know if I'm doing it well. And you know I don't I didn't know anybody gave a shit, but people are watching. Like, you know that one viewer on YouTube out of the 5 viewers that you have, you might inspire them to go do something, and that's crazy. Like, and you would never know it.
That's awesome. I'm so big on that. Like this is why I'm having you on the podcast because you don't have to be Elon Musk to inspire
No.
someone else. Like there are so many amazing, people like yourself out there doing amazing things. There's people our age in our age range that 18 to 35 that they have their own dreams and aspirations and they're watching us the same way we're watching them
Hmm.
and the inspiration is there. It's coming and again, you know we might not interact with these people on a day-to-day basis, but that doesn't mean that they're not watching, they're not listening, and you
Right.
never know what you like. It's you just we're a lot more connected than I think we realize, and
Yeah.
it's so awesome that someone can see what you're doing and be like, hey, Anthony's doing it now. I want to pick up the phone and be a photographer for him to tag you, and you're
Yeah.
probably like, yo, who the hell is this dude? But it's so awesome because it's like you see how much of an impact what you're doing right now can have on someone else, right?
Right. Right.
And I think it's important that we definitely celebrate, the little victories too. Celebrate us doing this podcast. Celebrate yourself doing a shoot. Celebrate your 549th post because there's
Yeah.
someone out there who has zero and they want to start, but they either won't or they never will because they just couldn't they couldn't overcome that wall that so many others
Right.
weren't able to that you were able to overcome as well.
And I
And
think
I
that's like the key to being a creator, an entrepreneur, is like every every certain steps, every few steps you take, you need to understand, like, you need to look back and see what you've done.
mhm,
Don't just always be thinking about the future, be thinking about where you've been and what you've done. Like, I have a letter from um, Nikon on my desk, reminding me about the time that they sent me a free camera because they liked my photos. You know,
That's
like,
sick. Nikon?
yeah, I have that
Oh
framed on my
my
desk.
God.
And like, I think about the few times that they have reached out to me, and I literally got like a um not like a W-2, but like something like that from Nikon because I actually worked for them this past year. They like
Mm.
contracted me, which is like when I got that in the mail, I was like, shit, man, like that's cool. Like, and it's not, you shouldn't be ashamed to say that. Like, it's
No.
just like you realizing like I have done some shit that I'm proud of, and I'm gonna use that as a little boost to get me to where to the next step to where I want to go. But like it's about looking back and looking forward and being like,
Hmm.
okay, I did this, so now I can do this, you know?
Exactly. Like this is where this is, looking back to see how far you've come, the path.
Yeah.
All right, man. We're gonna get to the last topic now because we didn't want this thing to go on for too long. But it's a good segue though. We gotta talk about your other passion, man. Nature. You put out another video I got to make sure I got my notes on just in case I stutter on something. But you put out
Yeah.
a video not too long ago called The Church of Nature. And we can see this in your photography as well. You take a ton of shots. You had the trip to Canada that you did. Obviously, you do video as well. You talked about how nature is like, it's spiritual for you, it's healing, it's meditation. What,
Mhm.
like, what, like, when did you become? I could joke and say, when did you become a tree hugger? But I'll be nice. I'll say this. Listen, what, when did your love for nature sort of like, when did Anthony love, like, did you always love the outdoors like this? Like, what is it about the outdoors that just makes you feel so at peace?
Yeah, I think I grew up in a really rural area.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think, you know, I grew up in a really chaotic household with my dad. Um, and the few moments that I did have that were calm and peaceful were moments that I had when I was just sitting outside in nature. Like, you know, you, people talk about their, so-called happy place or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
when you're feeling down or whatever. And I have this recurring feeling and image of laying down when I was a kid. I did this a lot really, and I never really thought about it until I was an adult, but I would lay down as the sun was, going down below the trees, but it was still light out during the summer, and I would just lay down on the pavement on my back and look up, and there would always be like tons of dragonflies going after mosquitoes in the air. And I remember like the coolness of the air around me, but then the warmness of the still, pavement from the sun previously. And something about that, I wasn't like worried, I wasn't stressed. I was just looking up at those dragonflies. And I think that's carried on into so many things that I do now, like whether I'm hiking or, whether I'm spending time with the wolves. I just sit there and kind of listen and sit still and find calm. And, that's what people go to church for. That's what people,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's what people are searching for when they read poetry or, stuff like that. And it's those moments of calm that I get that are so important. And that's why I chose to make that film about it. Um, there's something about just being out there that puts me at ease.
And you know, one of the things I thought was really cool about your videos, it just shows how we can get, and you talked about how we can get so caught up in the trap of just the daily life. You know, nature can feel so far away. So it's great to
Yeah.
be able to kind of, you know, have a place where you can go to be alone, be in your thoughts. And you made it very clear. You're not going there to harm yourself. You're going there to sort of
Yeah.
find peace
Yeah.
and
Because
healing.
I feel like, I see a lot of young people and they're like, oh, I went to, the White Mountains and, XYZ snowstorm, thunderstorm, hurricane force winds. And I'm like, dude, why? Like, are you, are you, some people think it's cool. And some people, honestly, I think are out to hurt themselves. And they disguise it as I'm trying to be cool and be edgy and, go hiking in a thunderstorm. When in reality, they really are trying to self-harm. And it's the easiest way to hide it. And so I I wanted to make it clear that I don't go when I'm depressed because I want to get eaten by a bear or, hope to God one of the wolves tears my throat out. Um, I go because when I'm with the wolves and they're, licking my face or whatever, or just being still beside me, or when I'm out and just listening to the birds chirping, it's a pause button. It's time to reflect. Um, and I worry that some people go to nature for the wrong reasons.
Honestly, I had no idea that was even a thing until you brought it up. Like when you were
Yeah,
talking, when you first talked about that, I thought that was a joke. Like this is like I thought that was like a hashtag that someone do. Like because there's always these TikTok challenges going around.
yeah,
I had no
yeah.
idea that was really a thing. I mean, that's just really unfortunate.
And I don't think it's a thing that people talk about a lot
Mm-hmm.
because it's so easy to hide that behind I'm just a thrill seeker, right? Or I'm
Yeah.
just I'm just like looking for adventure. Um, when in reality, there's something deeper there. And people look past it because they think that person is just, a thrill seeker.
Well, that's it's crazy. I have the person and I have the place and thing. I just can't think of it right now. But as far as that's concerned, I think God damn, I really just lost my train of thought. Well, I was gonna say for one thing, I think it's really cool that you have found your happy place for lack of a better term, because I think a lot of people don't know or they don't have and or they don't know what a healthy outlet is.
Hmm.
I have friends, close friends who have told me in the past, hey Rich, like life is tough, man. So I drink like crazy, to forget my
Yeah,
problems, to drown out the
yeah. Drugs
sorrows.
is usually
Yeah, you
is
know,
usually thing. Yeah,
and in the past, like myself specifically, I would use alcohol when I was going out as a way to build confidence so I could talk to
right,
girls and whatnot. But I was blacking out. And the problem with blacking out was I was hurting myself, I was hurting my friends, and wasn't making anybody
right,
else happy. So I
right.
think it's cool that you have found, something that is healthy, but you're also using it in a healthy way as well. Um, I mean, would you say that winter is your favorite season? Because you've talked in the past about how like you love being out in the elements, cold weather and whatnot. Like, what's
Yeah,
your
I really like the winter. I really like the fall too, just because it's
okay?
it's 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 a little bit more moderate temperature. But I'm like I run hot, man. Like in
Yeah.
in the summer, man, I sweat my balls off, and it's the worst. Like I'm that person that's like I just live in my AC, and
Yeah.
if I'm outside, I'm in the water somewhere cold. Like I'm trying to find cold wherever I am in the summer because I hate it. Like you
So
know, I,
You're in the right area, my friend. You're in the right. You're a New Englander, and I saw that Dunkin' Donuts. I saw that Dunkin' coffee cup. I was like, oh my god, cold weather, dunks,
yeah,
nature. Like,
yeah,
oh my god. Listen, man. You know, we're just about at the 2 hour mark, so I just got a final wrap up question, and they're personal
yeah,
questions for you. The first one is, you know, and what advice would you give to someone who's listening to this right now who has, aspirations to do something different, whether that's photography, I don't know, starting an Instagram page on fitness, YouTube channel,
yeah.
gaming. What would you give to someone who, who's aspiring to do something what you're doing right now, but I don't know whether it's they're worried about the work schedule. They're worried about, like, I forgot to
Yeah.
mention this before, but you work full time right now, but you also do your
Yeah.
photography business. So
Yep.
I guess what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about starting?
Um, I'm trying to be nice, but literally just get your head of your own ass. Like, stop thinking about all the details and the gear you need to get, and just do it. You know, one of my favorite YouTube creators, Casey Neistat, literally said, like, in today's day and age, if you have a phone and an internet connection and a good idea, that's all you need. Like, you can start creating today. Um, and Jim Carrey had a really good speech at a graduation, at a commencement ceremony that stuck with me. He said, you can fail at something you don't want to do. So why not fail at something that you do want to do?
Beautiful
And
stuff.
and that stuck with me because it's like so many people are failing at jobs that they fucking hate
Mm-hmm.
because they're worried about failing at something that they love doing and they want to do full time. And yeah, I think just get out and do it, regardless of you know how much you're worried, or don't think about what other people are going to think, because the truth is, like, all the best creators, they didn't they they didn't care about that shit. They just did it anyway, and they kept doing it, and then they became the cool people,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody started
Trendsetter.
doing what they were doing.
Oh man, I love it. And I guess the second last question is, so what's next for you? Like, what is, obviously you've been doing this for a couple of years. You've got a pretty damn good resume, going so far. What's next for Anthony Rizzo in video and photography?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm just trying to do the wedding photography grind, which is what a lot of photographers do, wedding videography and photography. Um, but I'd love to do more work with Nikon. I don't know if that's going to happen in the future. They kind of reach out to me when they can, and I'm sure they're talking to a ton of other people too, because it's Nikon. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, just trying to make a name for myself, and keep creating. I do want to get back to making YouTube videos because that's something I've been slacking on, but I've been so busy lately. It's hard to do that. But like I said, I'm making excuses, so I need to just get out and do it.
Where can we follow you?
So Instagram, it's at ARISO photo, all one word. Ariso photo. Um, and if you type that same handle in Facebook, it'll come up too. So yeah, those are my two places. And then youtube.com/Anthony Riso. That's Riso. You can find my YouTube channel.
Any questions? Anything that you feel like we haven't covered so far that you would like to address?
No, man, I think we've run the gambit. I think we might have just made like an 8 series podcast in this
I
in this
was
discussion.
I was gonna say, man, we always have great conversations, which is
Yeah,
dope.
yeah,
Listen, when it's safe, we gotta meet up, man. We gotta
yeah,
grab
for
a
sure.
beer, grab some
Yeah,
wings. I'll drive up to New Hampshire. You come down here,
maybe
doesn't
do an
matter.
maybe do an in-person episode
Yeah, an
after
in-person
this.
episode.
Yeah.
I'll have to have somebody other than you shoot it because we're gonna be the ones talking in it. Oh man. Listen,
All
I
right.
just want to thank you so much for being on my podcast tonight. I am going to advertise the shit out of this thing. I'll probably
Yeah, me too.
post it, within a couple days. I'm gonna talk to my producer and see how we should time this thing out. But hey, you have yourself a good night. I appreciate the time. And when we do meet
Yeah.
up, the beer's on me.
All right.
All
Sounds
right.
good. Sounds good, man.
Signing off the Rich and Facts podcast. Thanks for coming on, Anthony, man. Great to catch up with you.
Yeah, it's good being on.
Good luck with photography. Of course, we're gonna keep talking and whatnot, but
Of course, yeah.
I really admire your work. Your videos inspire me. I'm gonna let you get some rest now, my friend. Have
All
a
right,
good
man.
night.
All
All
right,
right.
cheers.
Cheers. Take
Bye.
it easy. Bye-bye.